Hallo und willkommen zurück zu Let's Play SHINRAI Broken Beyond Despair. Wir haben beim letzten Mal dann endlich mal die Leiche entdeckt und sind jetzt scheinbar wieder im zweiten Stock. When we reach the second floor, the sound of a door being closed could be heard. We automatically threw all our gazes down the hallway towards the source. Someone was standing in front of one of the guest rooms. The very same guest room, in fact, where we had found Momoko earlier. Okay. It was Carmen, and she was all by herself. Letting her back fall softly against the door, she lowered her head, apparently so deep in thought that she once again didn't seem to notice the group of people who had just arrived. As we approached her, her back began to slowly slide down until her bottom hit the floor. There she curled up into a ball, slinging her arms around her legs and hiding her face behind her knees. At first, I could barely hear them, but the closer we got, the louder and clearer her tearful whispers grew. In a strained, shaky voice, the continuously repeated her best friend's name. When we finally stopped in front of her, she still didn't show any signs of noticing us. Aha, also ist sie so nicht anwesend, wie nennt man das? Also sie, Hospitalismus ist das, was der gerade hat, ne? Dieses, dass man so in sich kehrt, da vor sich hin einfach nur hin und her schaukelt und nichts mehr mitkriegt. Mir fällt gerade das Wort aber nicht ein, dieses sich komplett abspalten von allem drumrum da. Wie das nochmal heißt, da gibt's auch irgendein Wort vor. Ich denke immer, irgendwas mit A oder so, ne? Boah, wie heißt das? Wie heißt dieses Wort? Das macht mich jetzt... Ich will das jetzt nachgucken. Apathie war das Wort. Apathie. Sie ist apathisch, das meinte ich. Ich hatte die ganze Zeit irgendwie so Apartheid im Kopf, aber das war ja was komplett anderes, ja? Das hat damit ja nichts zu tun. Apathie war das Wort, wonach ich suche. Sind sehr ähnliche Begriffe und haben wahrscheinlich auch denselben Wortursprung, aber bedeuten was komplett Unterschiedliches. Da will ich jetzt nicht näher drauf eingehen. Apathie. Sie ist apathisch, okay. When we finally stopped in front of her, she still didn't notice us. Instead, she continued grieving, crying and trembling in a truly pitiful manner. After silently standing there for a while, watching her without knowing what to do or say, it was Rie who stepped forward in order to somehow comfort the poor girl. However, before she could do so, her attention was suddenly drawn to something else. Right above Carmen, there was something on the door. A piece of paper. It was attached with a few thin strips of tape, and there was something written on it in big red letters. Happy Halloween. Stand das da vorher auch schon? Wir haben vorher nicht die Tür gesehen, wie sie zu war, ne? Happy Halloween. When Carmen heard those words, she finally raised her hand, a mixture of confusion and surprise lighting up in her eyes. For a moment, she just kept staring at Rie, tears streaming down her cheeks. After wiping those tears away, however, her expression suddenly changed. Surprise, sadness, and confusion were shoved away by anger and disgust. Clenching her fists and grinding her teeth, she shot up to her feet and... What the hell is that supposed to mean? Happy Halloween? Are you fucking kidding me? What? Carmen? Hey! Within a moment, Carmen had grabbed Rie by her collar, swung her around, and pushed her against the wall. An expression on her face as though she was ready to tear her apart. Thankfully, though, Barachan was quick enough to intervene and separate them from one another before things could truly escalate. Ja, wahrscheinlich hat sie nicht mitgekriegt, dass sie das nur vorgelesen hat und dass das auf der Tür steht. Es wäre auch sonst ein bisschen makaber, wenn du das einfach so sagen würdest. Es ist auch schon makaber genug, dass das da steht. Stop it! The door! She meant what's on that door. What? As she turned her gaze towards the guest room door and realized what Rie had actually been muttering about, Carmen's expression began to soften, as did her grip. With the look in her eyes shifting back to bewilderment and confusion, she let Rie go. Happy Halloween? What the hell is that? You didn't notice before? When I arrived here with Hiro and Runa earlier, the door was already open and I never paid any attention to it when I went inside. And when I just left, I pulled it shut behind me, so she hadn't seen the sign until now. Just like the rest of us, it seemed. I looked at Rie, but she immediately denied having anything to do with it or having even made anything like it as part of her Halloween decorations. Also für mich ist am verdächtigsten von allen im Moment Hiro. Einfach aus dem Grund, dass er, ich meine, einmal die ganzen Räume sind ja eigentlich abgeschlossen. Und Hiro hatte die Gelegenheit, mit seinem Schlüssel, also mit dem Schlüssel von Rie, den er bekommen hatte, als er mal aufs Klo musste und die Türen abgeschlossen waren fürs Klo, da hat Rie ihm ja die Schlüssel mitgegeben, mit denen er theoretisch jedes Zimmer aufschließen konnte. Das heißt, er hatte auch die Gelegenheit, genau dieses Zimmer aufzuschließen und Momoko hier umzubringen. Wer sonst sollte denn in dieses Zimmer auch gehen und wissen, dass das aufgeschlossen ist, wenn die Information war, dass alle Zimmer abgeschlossen sind? Es kann ja sonst keiner wissen, dass die Tür offen ist, außer derjenige, der sie aufgeschlossen hat. Und das können im Moment nur Rie oder Hiro gewesen sein, weil niemand anderes hatte die Schlüssel. Es sei denn, Runa hatte die Schlüssel, bevor wir überhaupt hier angekommen sind und hat das da schon aufgeschlossen und das war die ganze Zeit schon nicht zu. Also aber das sind die 3 einzigen, die momentan für mich als Tatverdächtige in Frage kommen. Wer sonst sollte einfach so random zu diesem einen Zimmer hingehen, was aufgeschlossen ist? Das macht ja keinen Sinn. Es muss ja jemand sein, der weiß, dass es offen ist. Ich glaube nicht, dass jemand zufällig da oder dass Momoko zufällig da reingegangen ist. Das wäre ja wirklich ein sehr großer Zufall. I looked at Rie, but she immediately denied having anything to do with it or having even made anything like it as part of her Halloween decorations. And she also assured us that it definitely hadn't been there when she and Runa had checked this floor one last time before the first guests had arrived. Okay, also denke ich mal, dass es Runa auch nicht war. Denke ich mal. Also ich bin mir jetzt sogar ziemlich sicher, dass es Hiro ist, weil die hatten in ihrer Beziehung halt auch schon Probleme gehabt und er hat diese Scheißgeschichte erzählt, womit sich ja ihr Tod super deckt, ne, mit dieser Geschichte. Immerhin ist sie ja jetzt von dem Geist heimgesucht worden, ne? Mhm. But if that was the case, then where did it come from? Es bleibt eigentlich nur noch Hiro übrig dann, ne? Who had put it there? When? And most of all, why? Es sei denn, Rie und Runa machen gemeinsame Sache. Das ist natürlich auch noch eine Möglichkeit. Aber warum sollten sie die dann Ich habe bis jetzt noch von keinem Motiv gesehen, Momoko umzubringen. Außer Hiro. Never mind that for now. More importantly, is it true about Momoko? I mean, is she really, you know... Ja, ist es. Come allowed her gaze once more, until the shadow seeping from the brim of her head consumed most of her face, leaving only her quivering lips remain visible. She did her best not to cry and give an answer, but in the end she couldn't do it. All she managed to get out were a couple of pitiful wails, as more and more pearls of sadness erupted from her eyes. Seeing her getting overpowered by the emotions she was so desperately trying to hold back was almost heart-wrenching, and it made Rie immediately regret her question. Why? Why would she do that to herself? Ich glaube nicht, dass sie das selbst getan hat. To me. Momo. Oh, Momo. Carmen. When her tear-drenched voice caved in completely, caved in completely, came in through herself against Rie, burying her face deep into her chest. Ich meine, jetzt mal ganz ehrlich, welchen Grund sollte jemand haben, Selbstmord zu begehen und für die anderen vorher ein Schild mit der Aufschrift Happy Halloween dahin zu hängen? Ich meine, wer macht das, wenn er sich selbst umbringt? Dann verfasst man irgendwie einen Abschiedsbrief oder sowas, aber nicht einfach nur Happy Halloween. Das macht so keinen Sinn eigentlich. Crying and screaming, she let everything out while Rie slung her arms around her, gently stroking her back in an attempt to calm her down. All Barachan and I could do was stand there. Stand there in silence as we watched with helpless looks on our faces. As much as I disliked Carmen, and as much as I hated her for the way she treated me, I had to admit, I felt truly sorry for her right now. After all, I myself knew all too well how painful it was to lose someone so close to you. Ah, kommt jetzt die Backstory, was mit wie auch immer sie gerade heißt. Raiko war die Mutter, ne? Oder hieß Raiko? Sie ist Raiko, ne? Raiko Nian. Ja, ich glaube Raiko, ne? After a few minutes had passed, Carmen's cries began to gradually subside, slowly turning into a quiet sobs before fading away completely. Weil sie hatte auch schon mal irgendwie sowas erwähnt, ne? Eventually, she distanced herself from Rie, seemingly ashamed of her sudden outburst. Sorry. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You okay now? Not really, but I can't keep drenching your shirt forever, can I? She pressed her lips together tightly, forcing herself to smile as she wiped the sadness from her eyes once more. It took a couple of deep breaths, but it looked as though she had finally managed to regain her composure. How's Hero holding up, by the way? And where is he, anyways? Still inside. He told me to leave because he wants to be alone with her for a bit. I see. Hauptsache, er macht da jetzt keine kranke Scheiße mit der Leiche. Now he's acting all sad, but I bet deep inside he's happy this happened. What? Never mind. She was most likely referring to that argument between Momoko and Hiro from earlier. Also es könnte... Ich finde es im Moment zu offensichtlich, es wird zu sehr darauf hingedeutet, dass es Hiro ist. Deswegen, dann wäre es ja kein Mystery mehr, ne? Wer könnte es denn sonst sein? Ansonsten würde doch noch jemand in Frage kommen, nämlich Runa. Die hat auch noch ein Motiv, weil sie ja in Hiro verknallt war und Momoko ihr demnach im Weg stand. Vielleicht ist sie ja nur so höflich on the outside, aber on the inside ist sie eine Yandere. Wer weiß das schon? But since Rie hadn't been present at that time, she obviously had no idea what Carmen was talking about. Had the relationship between Hiro and Momoko really been that bad? So, like, what are we gonna do now? I guess it's too late to call an ambulance, but... Well, we still need to inform the police about what happened here. As well as our parents, of course. Looks like this little Halloween party is unfortunately coming to an early close. Ja. Aber das Telefon hat keinen Empfang, beziehungsweise das Telefon ist abgeschnitten. Und ihr habt keinen Empfang mit euren Handys. Also müsst ihr ja eigentlich das Haus verlassen, um zur Polizei gehen zu können. Und in der Zeit, ja gut, sie wissen jetzt noch nicht, dass es ein Mord war wahrscheinlich, aber es ist höchstwahrscheinlich so. Und wenn es ein Mord war, könnte in der Zeit einfach der Mörder fliehen. Ne? Damn it. Why did things have to turn out this way? How am I gonna explain this to Dad? To Momoko's parents? Shit. Well, I guess there's no way around it, is there? So, let's go make those calls. We can use the phone in Dad's office and... Ja, es gibt noch ein Phone im Office. What the heck? And just like that, everything was suddenly drenched in pitch black darkness. Again. Ah, toll. What's going on here? A power outage? But that can't be. That also you doing, Rie? What? Come on, we already know you were the one behind that blackout earlier. Raiko-chan totally saw through it and Mika confirmed it. She did? Well, I guess there's no point in denying it now. Aber jetzt gerade war sie, kann sie es ja nicht gewesen sein, weil sie hier ist, bei uns. I was the one who turned off the power earlier, but I swear I have nothing to do with this. I mean, I'm right here, aren't I? Genau. That certainly was true. But who was behind this power outage then? In any case, with not even a fraction of moonlight falling through the window at the end of the corridor, we were trapped in literal blackness right now. Thankfully though, this time I already knew what to do about that. I reached into my pocket, fetched my cell phone and flipped it open. Once again, its bright screen was able to at least faintly illuminate our surroundings. Oh, good thinking, Raiko-chan. Warum nennst du sie nicht mehr Raiko-nyan? Okay, let's see. I doubt any of the others are behind this. Not even Mika would switch off the power off for one of her pranks. At least not after what happened here. Doch, einer würde das tun. Der Mörder. So, it's an actual power outage this time? Maybe. Or maybe you guys somehow messed up when switching the power back on, I don't know. In any case, I guess I'll just go down into the basement and see for myself. In the meantime, I want you to return to the dining hall. Make sure everyone's present and then wait there for me. What about Hiro? And are we just gonna leave him here? Oh, right. I actually forgot about him. Let's get him too and... Don't bother. Huh? He's not in the best of moods, as you might imagine. He kicked me out to be by himself and, well, you know how he is. Lebt Hiro jetzt überhaupt noch? Weil das Ganze könnte ja auch nur eine Ausrede sein, dass wir da nicht reingehen, weil Hiro da bereits drin tot ist. Wer weiß. Vielleicht hat sie gedacht, Hiro hat Momoko umgebracht und hat dann quasi Selbstjustiz verübt und dementsprechend hat sie dann Hiro umgebracht. Talking to him right now would be pointless, so I'll stay here and wait for him. You just go on ahead and we'll catch up later. Are you sure about that? Yes. To be honest, I'd also like to be by myself for a bit, so... I see. Well, I can't force you and I guess I can understand, but still. You shouldn't stay here for too long. Once you're ready, head straight for the dining hall, okay? We should probably all stay there until our parents arrive. Alright. I couldn't really tell why, but I didn't have a good feeling about simply leaving Hiro and Carmen behind. I mean, I could understand that they wanted to be alone for a while. After all, out of everyone in our group, those two had been the closest to Momoko, so her death had naturally hit them the hardest. Still, I was with Rie on this one. It was better for everyone to stick together until the police and our parents had arrived. Das ist ja eventuell einfach mal logisches Denken. Nicht so wie in allen anderen Horror-Szenarien, wo alle immer denken, komm, wir teilen uns auf, damit es leichter ist für die Mörder, ne? Das ist immer so dumm. Das ist das Dümmste, was man tun kann, sich aufteilen. Unfortunately, given their personalities, I already knew that trying to convince them about that was going to be a waste of time. Especially if I was the one to try it. So, with no other choice but to accept her decision, Barrett-chan, Rie and I headed back towards the stairs. Just the three of us, leaving Carmen all by herself in the darkness. A new notebook entry has been added. New diary entry has been added. My cell phone and I leading the way, we descended the stairs. Slowly and carefully, of course. When we arrived at the bottom, Rie told us to head to the dining hall while she continued further down on her own. I didn't like the idea of her going all by herself, however, and so I insisted on accompanying her. Ja, das wäre vielleicht auch ganz gut. Sonst stolpert sie nachher vielleicht noch die Treppen runter. I wanted to see for myself what was going on here anyway. Barrachan obviously wasn't too keen on paying the breakout room another visit. Nevertheless, she ultimately decided to stick with us. I guess she didn't want to walk down the dark hallway on the dining hall all by herself either. So, without splitting up, the three of us continued downwards. Was steht das wieder für Geräusche? Once in the basement, we followed the long black corridor to the breakout room. On our way there, we used the opportunity to stop by the manager's office. Just to be sure, Rie unlocked it, went inside and picked up the phone. Of course it was dead. Ja, ohne Strom. Since she couldn't start her father's computer either, it really looked as though the entire power supply for the resort had been cut, not just for the lights. After leaving and locking the office again, we moved on. Hä? Ich meine auch, welches Gebäude hat denn extra Strom für das Licht? Ich meine, man hat doch den Strom für einzelne Räume und das betrifft dann die gesamten Räume, aber doch nicht für Licht und andere Sachen, einen eigenen Schalter. Das macht ja überhaupt keinen Sinn bei einem Sicherungskasten. After leaving and locking the office, we moved on. And before long, we found ourselves standing in front of a familiar metal door again. To think we're actually back here now. Ja, und denkt an die Spinne. When I was so happy to leave that creepy hellhole. I just hope there ain't no more unwelcome surprises waiting for us. Well, let's take a look and find out. Without further ado, Rie grabbed the door handle and... Ist zu? Huh? What the... Are you kidding me? It's not opening? What the heck? Is it locked? Looks that way, but how? Rie tried again, but no matter how hard she pushed, the door wouldn't budge. Aber hat sie nicht die Schlüssel? This was really weird. It had obviously been open when Barrachan, Mika and I had left the breaker room, so why was it locked now? Confused, Rie reached into her pocket and pulled out a set of silver keys. Under the blue light of my cell phone, she searched for the right one and tried inserting it into the keyhole. Es sei denn, Hiro, der ja die Schlüssel zwischenzeitlich hatte, hat den Schlüssel hiervon einfach entwendet. Und hat sich einfach ein paar Schlüssel behalten. However, it doesn't fit. Did I get the wrong one? Vielleicht ist der, den du haben wolltest, gar nicht mehr da. Desperation creeping across her face, she tried inserting one key after another, but no matter which one she picked and no matter how often she tried forcing them into the keyhole, not a single one of them wanted to fit. Und wenn das so ist, dass quasi wer auch immer der Mörder ist, ich gehe immer noch davon aus, dass es Hiro ist, auch wenn es mir zu offensichtlich erscheint, wenn der alle Schlüssel hat, dann könnte er auch die Haupteingangstür verschlossen, sodass wir hier gar nicht mehr rauskommen und auch keine Polizei holen können. This is bullshit. What the hell's going on here? Could it be that you maybe lost the right key somewhere? Ja, oder jemand hat sie genommen, den Schlüssel. Jemand hat den Schlüssel genommen, als er die Gelegenheit dazu hatte. No! How would I lose one of them? See this ring? They can't just fall off by accident. I certainly didn't take one of them off either. Ja, du nicht. Besides, every key's here. I've counted them twice now. Ja, aber vielleicht ist einfach ein Schlüssel ausgetauscht worden. All 11 keys are there. Not a single one is missing. The desperation on Rie's face slowly transformed into a mixture of disbelief and panic. She didn't understand what was going on here, and neither did I. The door being locked was already weird enough, but if she was certain that none of the keys were missing, one of them should have definitely fit into the lock. So how come that wasn't the case? Is there someone else who's got all the resort's key in their possession? Runa, maybe? No, Dad only gave me this one set of keys. And you're sure it's the right one? Maybe it got replaced with a different set while you weren't paying attention. Ja, vielleicht nicht das gesamte Set, sondern ein bestimmter Schlüssel oder ein paar bestimmte Schlüssel. No, this is definitely the right one, weil sie ja eben das Büro noch aufschließen konnte. You just saw me unlock Dad's office, right? Besides, the breaker room's been locked the whole day. Yeah, only when I come down here earlier to turn the power off, I unlocked it. Stimmt, und das war nachdem Hiro den Schlüssel hatte, ne? Obwohl sie hat doch gesagt, sie hat doch vorher schon gesagt, der wäre offen. And I did it with this set of keys I'm holding right now, I swear. And from the moment you unlocked this door, you never gave the keys to anyone else? No, I always had them with me. The only time I gave the keys to someone was when Hiro needed them to unlock the restrooms. But that was way before I went down here to unlock the breaker room. So you see, the only one who could have locked this door would be me. Oder jemand, der eine Kopie des Schlüssels angefertigt hat. But I guarantee you I didn't. I had to leave it open for you guys to turn the power back on, so... What's going on here then? Don't tell me it's a ghost. Ja, jetzt bin ich auch verwirrt, wie derjenige das gemacht haben könnte. Well, this whole issue truly was mysterious, so... It was no surprise that Bara-chan was once again thinking that a ghost had to be behind this. Weil so einen Schlüssel kann man ja nicht einfach mal so in 5 Minuten nachmachen oder so. Das geht ja nicht mal schnell eben so. Just like it shouldn't have been a surprise that I refused to even consider such nonsense. There was absolutely no way for this to be the work of something supernatural. There had to be some other logical explanation for it. Yeah. Rie had only received one set of keys for this resort, so there was no spare. According to her, there hadn't been any opportunity for anyone to switch out any keys, let alone the entire set. So, the ones she had with her right now had to be the real deal. Moreover, she was certain that all the keys were there and not a single one was missing. Sure, Hiro had borrowed the keys earlier to unlock the restrooms on the first floor, but that had happened before Rie had gone into the basement to unlock the breaker room and turn the power off. Ja gut, aber er könnte trotzdem oben das Zimmer aufgeschlossen haben. Ich weiß halt nur nicht, wie er es jetzt geschafft hat, das zuzuschließen. Das ist die einzige Frage, die jetzt noch bleibt. Außerdem war er seitdem ja die ganze Zeit oben, ne? Huh. So Hiro couldn't have replaced the breaker room key. Also, considering the breaker room had been open when Bara-chan and I had been here to turn the power back on, the door could only be locked sometime after we had left. Ja, und da war Hiro da oben, ne? So, since Hiro had been on the second floor the whole time since then, he wouldn't have had a chance to come down here and lock the door anyway. Es sei denn, er hat einen Komplizen? But then who did it? And how had they managed to accomplish it? Unfortunately, if all of this hadn't already been confusing enough, this whole issue raised even more questions. I swear I had them with me the whole time. I also used these keys earlier today when I made sure to lock all the doors and they worked just fine then. Right, you mentioned that during dinner. If I recall correctly, you basically locked all the doors in the entire resort with a few exceptions. Those exceptions being the reception, the dining hall, the kitchen, the first floor restrooms and the breaker room, correct? Ja, das heißt, dass der Breaker Room eigentlich schon offen war. Yeah, except for those, I locked everything else. I had to promise Dad I would. And you're absolutely sure that you actually locked them? I am. Runa can verify that. She was with me when we went through every floor, checking every single door. Ja, aber das widerspricht sich ja. Sie sagt, sie hätte die Tür erst aufgeschlossen, als sie die Power ausgeschaltet hat, sagt aber gleichzeitig auch, es wäre schon aufgeschlossen gewesen, als wir hier waren. Also sie sagt ja jetzt quasi aus, dass sie den nicht abgeschlossen hat. Die widerspricht sich ja quasi selbst gerade. I locked all the guest rooms, even the ones on the third floor where you guys are supposed to be sleeping. I told you, didn't I? And before you say anything else, no, I have absolutely no idea how that's possible either. I see. What are you guys talking about? What's not possible? The guest room on the second floor. The one we found Momoko in. It should be locked, just like the other guest rooms. Das lässt sich wiederum erklären mit Hiro, der ja den Schlüssel zwischendurch hatte und das einfach aufschließen hätte können. Das Einzige, was sich mir jetzt nicht ergibt, ist, warum jemand das hier unten zuschließen konnte. Es sei denn, Hiro und Rie arbeiten zusammen. Damit Runa mit Hiro zusammen sein kann. Und Momoko war halt im Weg. Keine Ahnung. Yeah, but it isn't. Right. Now that you mention it. But how's that possible? I don't know. Like I said, I made sure to lock all the rooms. Runa was with me, so there's no way we overlooked one. But even if we did, how did Momoko know that particular guest room was unlocked? Vielleicht wusste sie es auch nicht, sondern ihr Mörder. Since she arrived here, she didn't leave the dining hall even once. Unless she did while I was taking a shower or turning the power off. Nein, da war sie da. No, she was there with us the entire time. The only ones who left the dining hall after Barrett-chan and I had arrived were you and Hiro. Yes, I can confirm that. Well, in that case, Momoko never had a chance to sneak around the resort and check if any of the doors were unlocked. So, did she just find it by pure coincidence after she ran off during that blackout? What do you mean she ran off? Oh, right. You guys still have no clue what actually happened upstairs while you were down here, huh? Ja, das wird mich jetzt echt mal interessieren. Gab's wieder einen Streit? During that first blackout, Momoko left the dining hall in an awful hurry. Did she say why? No. She didn't say anything. Just scooted off without a single word. Of course, it didn't take long before Hiro, Kam, and Runa chased after her. But I guess they weren't fast enough. Interesting. Wait a sec. Haben die sich aufgetrennt? Haben die sich aufgeteilt, die drei? Dann könnte Hiro das nämlich gewesen sein. So let me get this straight. You're saying that during that first blackout, Momoko just left the dining hall, went up to the second floor, found the only unlocked guest room, and hanged herself? That seems to be what happened. I just wonder, was it coincidence? That she found the room, I mean, and then decided to hang herself inside? Or did she somehow know about it being open beforehand? That was indeed a very good question. From what Rie had told us just now, it looked like Momoko had run straight to the second floor guest room after the power had been cut off. For the sole purpose of hanging herself there. That sounded more like something that had been planned, not a spontaneous act. For it to be planned, however, she would have to know about the room being open. Ja, aber sie hat sich vielleicht gar nicht selbst erhängt. But how? According to Rie, Momoko hadn't had the chance to explore the resort for unlocked guest rooms, let alone unlock any herself. And a coincidence? She had found the room by pure chance? Well, it had been pitch black. And then decided to go inside and commit suicide? That seemed a little too strange to swallow. In fact, none of this seemed to make any sense at all. Richtig. Yeah, no. There's something else that's kind of weird. Where'd she even go? Get the rope from? You know, the one she hanged herself with. Yeah, good question. Ja, vielleicht lag das da einfach rum. Not really. At least this one was pretty obvious. Wow, okay. Boah, ich weiß das doch nicht mehr. Aber hatte sie das nicht bei sich? Hat sie nicht auch, hat sie sich nicht auch mit Runa zusammengebunden? Huh? What do you mean? She openly carried one. Oh, right. It was part of her costume. Richtig. Ah! The red robe wrapped around her waist. She was wearing one just like Runa. So that's where she got it from. So she had a robe with her the whole time. You think that was the reason why she wanted to dress up as one of them twin sisters in the first place? So she'd have a rope to hang herself with? If that was the case, a suicide definitely would have been planned beforehand, but... all this theorizing won't get us anywhere right now. Too many things are still unclear. Like the reason why she'd even commit suicide. But I'd say we shouldn't concern ourselves with that for now. Instead, we should focus on something else. Namely, turning the power back on so we can call the police and our parents. Well, I agree that's of higher priority right now. There's not much we can do. Ja, wie sollte da reinkommen, wenn ihr den Raum nicht aufschließen könnt? The door's locked, remember? But not the window. Huh? Oh! Stimmt, es gab ein Fenster. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Das hat sie gar nicht gesagt, oder? What are you talking about? Das hat Nobara eben gesagt, ne? What window? When Barachan and I turned the power back on, I opened the window to let a little bit of moonlight inside. I actually forgot to close it before we left, so it should still be open. Oh! So, you mean we could get inside the breaker room from the outside? Why didn't you say sooner? Alright, guys. Let's move it then. Okay, of course she didn't need to tell us twice. With a new destination in mind, we immediately dashed off to get there ASAP. Your notebook's entries have been added. Okay, also gehen wir jetzt draußen rum da rein. After returning to the first floor and heading to the reception, Rie unlocked the resort's main entrance and we headed outside. Also haben wir die Möglichkeit rauszukommen. Interessant. Of course it was extremely cold out here, even colder than when Barachan and I had arrived down at the parking area. But there was nothing we could do about that now. Since the window to the breaker room was the opposite side of the building, we had no choice but to grit our teeth and bear it as we made our way through the freezing mountain night. Puffing out little clouds of warm breath like locomotives, we ran through the narrow corridor between the resort's outer wall and the surrounding forest barricades of black trees. Rie and Barachan seemed to feel rather uneasy, glancing around in suspicion, as though they feared someone was watching us from the shadows. Aha, vielleicht ist das auch einer. Und am Ende war es nur Barachans Vater, die ganze Zeit. Der ist gar nicht weggegangen, sondern hat es die ganze Zeit beobachtet. I couldn't really blame them, though. It was pretty cold, dark, and the unnerving cackling of the cicadas probably didn't help much either. Thankfully, though, it didn't take us too long to get to the other side. Soon I spotted two windows. One of them for the employees' quarters, if I remember the map correctly, and one of them for the breaker room. The moment I saw it, I stopped dead in my tracks. Yeah. It's closed? Are you really sure you left it open? Yeah. Yes, definitely I did. Since it was part of a basement room, the window was set relatively low into the wall, almost on ground level. I moved closer and crouched down in front of it to take a better look. It was just a small glassless rectangular hole in the wall, covered by a metal plate from the outside. I pressed my fingers on the frame and tried lifting it up, but to no avail. No dice. It's locked. What? Dann müsst ihr wohl erstmal wieder mit Kerzen beleuchten, ne? Why is it locked? Why indeed. The metal cover could be fastened with a sliding bolt from the other side, but there was nothing I could do from here. So in other words, the window could only be sealed from the inside. I could clearly remember pushing the window open in order to let the moon shine inside. And before leaving the breaker room, neither Barachan nor I had closed yet alone locked the let alone locked it again. Und Mika auch nicht, ne? Oder? Ist Mika nicht kurz noch da drin geblieben? Shit, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. You think someone snuck into the breaker room through the window after we left? And now they've locked themselves inside here? I mean, that's the only explanation for this, right? Rie knocked against the window a couple of times to see if anyone was inside, ordering them to open up, but of course, there was no reply. Even if someone was inside there, they wouldn't just answer us like that. Besides, even though it made sense to assume someone had locked themselves inside the breaker room, the question of how they had managed to lock the door still remained. As did the question of why none of Rie's keys fit into the lock anymore. Curses, I knew this question had been asked a lot at this point, but I could only repeat it. Just what was going on here? First the door and now the window as well. The breaker room was completely sealed. At the very least, the reason behind all this was pretty clear, although rather disturbing. Taking into account the cut phone cord and the current power outage, it seemed like a fair assumption that someone was trying to prevent us from calling help. Well, now we really have a problem. The window can only be unlocked from inside, but since I can't open the stupid door, it looks like we won't be able to get into the breaker room. Which in turn means there's no freaking way for us to switch the power back on. And without power, we cannot call our parents or the police. Ja, das ist ein Problem, ne? So we were basically completely isolated now. Aber ihr könntet ja alle geschlossen als gemeinsame Gruppe rausgehen und so weit den Berg runtergehen, bis ihr wieder Empfang habt. Ne? IQ 2000. Stuck in a mountain resort, far away from the next city, with no electricity or cell phone reception. We could neither get away from here nor call for help. Just like in that movie. It's just like in that movie we watched earlier. So someone is trying to trap us here. So they can pick us off one after another. Barachan, get a grip. I have to admit this whole thing is kind of strange and very unsettling, but we need to stay calm and rational. I am rational. Du warst noch nie rational. I mean, what other reason could there possibly be for this? Unless this is all just a really evil prank. Irgendwo hat sie recht. Ich meine, was wäre eine andere Möglichkeit? Natürlich versucht jemand, die da festzuhalten. Sie hat ja recht, ne? Im Prinzip ist das ja rational. Please tell me it is. Tell me this is all just part of what you planned for tonight, Rie. I really wish that was the case, but I swear I have no clue what's going on here either. It's freaking me out too. First Momoko's suicide, then the destroyed phone and the reception, then that weird Halloween sign, and the second blackout, and now this? The sealed off breaker room? Not even I could come up with this shit. Well, that's great. That's just freaking great, man. Now, what the fuck are we supposed to do? What are we gonna do? Game over, man! Game over! Bara-chan, enough! Like I said, we need to stay calm. Getting into a panic won't really help us either. We need to think and decide on our next move. Sorry, but really, what's there to do? Without electricity, we can't do jack. There's a few things actually. Ja, es gibt Kerzen überall. First of all, I think we should head back to the others and let them know what we found out so far. They might get worried if we don't come back soon, and it would be better to talk things through with everyone else. I agree. Maybe one of the others even knows something, so let's head back inside first. Then we can continue to rack our brains all we want. But like Raiko-chan said, getting panicky out here in the cold isn't gonna achieve anything. I guess. Yes, there was nothing more for us to do out here. So without wasting any more time, we began heading back to the resort's main entrance. We had encountered quite a number of mysteries so far, and I really wanted to get to the bottom of all of them. However, in order to do so, we needed a lot more information first, especially in regards to what exactly had happened during that first power outage. And that was something only the others were able to tell me. A new notebook entry has been added. A new diary entry has been added. Once back inside, Rie locked the main entrance as well as the door leading to the reception just to be sure. We then moved down to the first floor hallway. After a quick stop at the kitchen where Rie grabbed a box of matches, we finally returned to the dining hall. Rie? Is that you? Where the heck have you guys been? And what's going on here? Is that the surprise you... Wait a sec, Taiko. Let me take care of this here first. Not giving Taiko a chance to continue, Rie walked past him and towards one of the tables. Using the matches she had fetched from the kitchen, she began lighting the candles and lanterns one by one. Everyone was silently watching her as she moved from one corner of the room to the other, slowly but steadily providing us with more and more light. Ist ja gar keine creepy Beleuchtung jetzt, ne? Soon the entire dining hall was dimly illuminated. While glancing around, I noticed Taiko, Mika, and Runa, who looked pretty confused and desperate for answers. There was no trace of Kamen, Hiro, or Kotoba, though. Warum ist Kotoba nicht da? Where are the others? I'm assuming Hiro and Kamen are still upstairs, but where is Kotoba? No idea. What? Wasn't he with you the whole time? And I thought he was hurt. Yeah, well, about that. Why do I get a feeling this will be a longer explanation? Maybe we should all sit down first. Might be better. There were no objections, of course, so we joined Mika and Runa to the closest dinner table. Dann erzähl mal, wo Kotoba jetzt ist. Okay, Rie. Before we talk about anything else, tell me, is what Mika and Runa said about Momoko true? Did she really hang herself? Or is this just part of tonight's Halloween program? If it is, I gotta say, even if it's Halloween, this is going a bit too far for a joke. I wish I could say it's just a bad joke, but... We waited for Rie to continue, but it was clear from her expression that it wasn't easy for her to get the words out. That was perfectly fine, though. The expression accompanying her silence was enough of an answer for Taiko. Clenching his fists, he bent over the table and slammed one of them down on its surface. Following that, no one said a word. Mika, Bara-chan, Runa, Taiko, Rie, and I. We just sat there wordlessly staring holes into whatever our gazes were directed at. It was a hard fact to swallow. That one of our classmates, one of our friends, was dead. But as sad and tragic as it was, moping around wasn't going to bring her back. And we still had quite a few problems on our hands. So after someone So after some minutes of mourning and silence had passed, it was Raiko who took it up on himself to break the spell. We need to figure out what to do now. The first thing would obviously be to cancel this party and call our parents as well as the police. But that's kinda hard to do without electricity. And since the power's still out, I can only assume that there must be a problem. Otherwise, you would have already turned it back on, right? There is a whole bunch of problems. I don't even know where to start. Well, usually the best idea would be to start at the beginning. But since you already asked about Kodoba earlier, let's talk about him first. I'm getting kinda worried. I was hoping he'd be with you guys, but he obviously isn't. And I guess you didn't come across him either. No, like I said, I thought he was with you the whole time. Ja, ist jetzt auch noch ein weiterer Verdächtiger? I mean, he was still here when I left, going on and on about his leg being broken. I see. What's that idiot up to now? So, like, how did he disappear if his leg is broken? It isn't. He never lost consciousness either. It was just an act. What? Well, he did accidentally slip during that first blackout and fell onto one of the dinner tables, but he didn't hurt himself too badly. Apparently, he thought he could get some pity and nursing from one of you gals if he pretended to be unconscious. So, that's what he did. Ja, hätte man sich denken können, ne? Das habe ich auch eben schon so, bevor er es ausgesprochen hat, gedacht. Wahrscheinlich wollte er einfach nur Aufsehen bei den Mädels erregen. Of course. After Rie had sent you and Raiko-chan down through the basement, he regained consciousness and acted like his leg was broken in order to get more attention. But then people suddenly started running off one after another. Eventually it was only the two of us left here, and only then did he tell me the truth. So he lied about being hurt. No surprise there. But where is he now? I'd like to know that too. He said he needed to take a leak and wanted to go see what everyone else was up to, so he left. And obviously never came back. Aber wie sollte er denn an die Schlüssel gekommen sein? And you just let him walk off and stayed here all by yourself? Of course, I wanted to come along and see what the hell was going on too. But Kodoba told me to stay here in case Raiko-chan and Nobara-chan would get back and have no idea where everyone had disappeared to. He was pretty adamant about it. Suspiciously adamant even. Aha, er wollte nicht, dass jemand mitkommt. So I let him have leave and decided to wait a few moments before quietly following him. It was pretty obvious he was up to something. But just when I was about to leave, Mika and Runa returned. I see. Runa looked pretty pale. I helped her get inside, and then I obviously wanted to know what happened. Okay, das heißt, da haben wir die Leiche bereits gefunden. Und ich glaube nicht, dass der Perversling genug Zeit gehabt hat, dass er nicht genug Zeit gehabt hat, um den Mord begehen zu können, quasi. Also dafür reicht die Zeit, glaube ich, nicht aus. And then I obviously wanted to know what had happened. When they told me the news about Momoku, I couldn't believe it. And then soon after, the lights went out again. I didn't want to leave the two alone here in the darkness, so... In short, she had never gotten a chance to leave the dining hall and follow his friend. Das heißt, er war die ganze Zeit hier. Shouldn't Mika and Runa have come across him then? We did indeed, Miyamoto-san. So, did you see where he went? Unfortunately, no. Gaikuku-san said he was heading for the restrooms as he passed us, but I did not check if he was truly entering them. Mika didn't check either! Akoo! Well, I guess whether you saw him entering the toilets or not doesn't matter. Since he is not back yet, he obviously went somewhere else. But where to? We went all over the place and never saw him, so I have no idea where he could be. Unless... Unless what? Unless Kodoba is the one behind it. I mean, he's the one who turned the power off and locked himself inside the breaker room? It's a possibility at least. Oder es war seitdem keiner mehr auf dem Klo. Vielleicht ist er gerade auf dem Klo und lebt auch nicht mehr. Wer weiß das? Vielleicht hat er ja irgendwie den Mörder erwischt oder so. I have no idea how he managed to lock the door without my keys. But apart from that, everything else would make sense, wouldn't it? I guess so. Okay, stop there a second. What exactly are you even talking about? Kodoba locked himself inside the breaker room? Well... Rie took a deep breath and began sharing everything we had found out so far. She talked in detail about the sealed breaker room, the broken phone in the reception, the fact that the guest room on the second floor should have been locked, and even the strange Halloween sign attached to its door. It took a while, but with that, Taiko, Mika, and Runa were up to date on all the major discoveries we had made. Okay, also, das Happy Halloween-Schild war übrigens richtig geschrieben. Was wieder dagegen spricht, dass es Rie war, weil Rie es scheinbar nicht richtig schreiben kann, denn sie würde Happy mit E schreiben und Halloween genauso. Aber das war ja richtig geschrieben, das Schild. I see. So we're completely cut off from the outside world, huh? At least as long as we can't get into the breaker room and switch the power back on. And you think Kodoba's the one responsible for that? Well, who else could it be? He's the only one who could have done it, right? I guess the timing does fit. He disappears, and shortly afterwards the lights go out. But why would he do that? Well, maybe just to annoy us? Ja, vielleicht wusste er von dem ganzen Momoko-Ding noch gar nichts und hat sich einen Spaß erlaubt und dachte jetzt, er macht einen geilen Prank oder so. Aber im Prinzip bleibt dann immer noch die Frage, wie konnte er das überhaupt zuschließen? Es sei denn, es ist nicht obwohl, der Schlüssel fehlt ja auch dafür, ne? He left before Runa and Mika came back, right? So he didn't catch the news about Momo. He probably ain't got a clue what happened to her, so everything's still fun and games to him. Es kann sein, ne? A prank, hä? Maybe. Genau das habe ich ja auch gerade gesagt. Aber es macht keinen Sinn, dass der Raum unten jetzt verschlossen ist, weil irgendwie muss er das ja auch gemacht haben. Maybe, maybe not. Anywho. Shaking his head, Taiko suddenly rose to his feet. Huh? Where are you going? Where do you think? I'm going to the basement to tell that idiot to stop this nonsense. Well, I'm coming with you then. It looked as though Taiko wanted to raise an objection, but before he could say anything, Rie already had her hands on her hips and giving him a preemptive glare. He quickly realized that saying no would have caused him a lot more trouble than he was in the mood for, so he let out an annoyed sigh and reluctantly agreed. With that somehow settled, they each grabbed a candle and told us to stay put and left through the sliding doors. Since there was nothing else to do, I closed my eyes and tried thinking about this again. It was true. The timing of Kodoba's disappearance and the occurrence of the second power outage fit together perfectly, and there really wasn't anyone else who could have gone down there and caused it, right? The blackout had occurred when Bara-chan, Rie, Kamen, and I had been on the second floor. Hiro had been there as well, inside the guest room. Es sei denn, war da gar nicht drin und hat das einfach nur behauptet. Mika, Runa and Taiko could confirm that they had all been together inside the dining hall when it happened, so that really only left Kodoba. Nevertheless, I couldn't help but think that there was something odd about all this. It couldn't be that simple, could it? First of all, there was still the mystery with the door. How had Kodoba managed to lock it without Rie's keys? Das reimt sich, Rie's keys, haha. And why would he even lock himself up there anyway? Switching the lights off was a nice prank and all, but what exactly did he gain from this? Was he really sitting in the dark, cold breaker room right now, giggling to himself because we didn't have any light? Wasn't that kinda strange? Kodoba wasn't a prankster type like Mika. Everything he did was for the sole purpose of somehow getting closer to a girl. So doing something like this was kinda... Ja, wie soll er denn closer zu einem Girl kommen, wenn er sich einsperrt? Das macht ja keinen Sinn. Out of character for him. And then there was something else that was bothering me. The phone in the reception. Cutting the cord was going too far for a prank. And there was no way Kodoba could have done it. Ja, weil da noch da drin war, ne? According to what we heard from the others just now, he had left the dining hall shortly before Mika and Runa had returned to it. By then, we had already found the phone, so someone else must have destroyed it. Ja, es sei denn, das hängt nicht miteinander zusammen. Das der Breaker Room, das mit dem Breaker Room und dem Phone. Ne? Können ja zwei verschiedene Leute gewesen sein. Das mit dem Telefon kann immer noch Hiro gewesen sein. Und den Raum oben aufgeschlossen. Ich meine, die Gelegenheit dazu hatte er. Und einen Grund hatte er auch. So someone else must have destroyed it. Genau. And that someone had certainly done it to prevent us from making any phone calls. So wouldn't it seem only logical that the same person who would also try finding a way to keep us from using any other phones as well? Ja, macht Sinn, aber vielleicht ist das auch einfach nur ein Zufall. But in that case, the one behind the current power outage must have been someone other than Kodoba, right? Aber wir hatten sonst, ja, es könnte Rie gewesen sein, aber wer weiß. I guess the big question right now was there a connection between the reception phone and the second power outage? Das ist die Frage. Or were each of those unrelated and the work of two entirely different people for two entirely different reasons? Oder es war das Werk von zwei komplett verschiedenen Leuten für einen und denselben Grund. Der Mörder muss ja nicht unbedingt... Also, ich gehe mal davon aus, wenn jemand schon verhindern will, dass jemand gerufen wird wie die Polizei, dass es dann einen Mörder gibt, dann gehe ich doch einfach mal stark davon aus, dass es auch eine Möglichkeit ist, dass der Mörder einen Komplizen hat und eben nicht alleine gehandelt hat. Curses, maybe I was overthinking all this. Anyway, we were probably going to have some answers soon, so I decided to simply wait for Rie and Taiko to return while trying to comfort my poor little scaredy cat. I hadn't paid any attention to the time, so I couldn't say how much had actually passed, but it only felt like a handful of minutes when the sliding door was opened again. Ja? Well, we're back. Just the two of us. Yeah. Der war wahrscheinlich nicht mal da drin, ne? Sighing, Rie and Taiko moved towards the dinner table and sat down again. We could already tell from their faces that they didn't bring any good news. So, first we checked the restrooms, but he wasn't there. Also ist nicht auf dem Klo. After that we headed to the basement. I knocked on the breaker room door and told him to open up, but didn't get a reply. I kept trying, telling him about Momoko, but still nothing. Not a sound. In the end, I even tried breaking the door in, but that obviously didn't work out well. You're nuts, you know? That door's made of metal. The only thing you could have broken was your bones. Yeah. Anywho, I'm honestly having my doubts he's inside there.
Huh? Why?
A couple of reasons. But most of all, it's very unlike him. I know he's a fool and I know he does a lot of really stupid stuff, but this... locking himself up in the basement... It's pretty damn cold down there, I can tell you that. If he's actually sitting there in the cold and the dark, he is giving himself an even harder time than us with this prank. As long as there's no cute girls waiting as a reward, he wouldn't go through all the trouble. And speaking of cute girls, I mean, he's got a thing for nearly every girl in our class, but Momoko has always been number 1 on his list. So he definitely would have come running out of there the instant I told him about her. But he didn't.
But if he ain't inside there, who is?
Warum überhaupt? Es sagt ja überhaupt niemand, dass überhaupt jemand da drin ist. Oder?
I mean, someone's gotta be. Or was it a ghost after all?
Raiko-chan said she left the window open. So it would be perfectly possible for someone to sneak in from outside, correct? Ja, aber wir haben alle anderen seitdem schon getroffen, ne? So you're saying that a stranger is behind all this? Well, I honestly have no idea. But do you have a better explanation? Aber warum? Was hätte denn ein Fremder davon? Not really. And since we can't get inside the breaker room, I guess there's no way of finding out, huh? So what are we gonna do now? I'd say to put this whole issue aside for now. I've been thinking some more about everything you told me, and there's quite a few things bothering me. So, since we can't do much else right now, I'd like to ask you some more questions. Kann sein, dass Taiko irgendwie so unser Gehilfsdetektiv ist? Well, sure. Go ahead. First of all, the phone in the reception. You said someone broke it, but are you sure that was intentional? Or did it maybe just fall off the counter? Naja, es war durchgeschnitten. Didn't I tell you? The cord was cut. Clean. Probably with a knife or something. Unless that's what happens when a phone falls to the floor, I'd say someone cut it intentionally.
Yes, I can confirm that. Ain't no way it just fell off and ended up like that. No way in friggin' hell, man.
Alright. I just wanted to make sure. Any idea when that might have happened?
Well, I'm pretty sure it was still intact when Raiko-chan and I arrived here. I think.
Ja, aber danach hat keiner das mehr gesehen, ne? Außer Rie eventuell, die ja noch duschen war. It was! When I fetched one of the pamphlets for you two, the phone was still sitting on the reception desk. I'm 100% sure of that. I see. So it happened sometime after Raiko-chan and Nobara-chan arrived here.
But who did it? This ain't one of your pranks, Mika, is it?
Mika has nothing to do with this. Mika didn't destroy any phones in any receptions. Although Mika is admittedly quite ashamed of herself to not have thought of that.
Come on, this ain't funny.
Cool. Well, if we assume Gaikoku-san is the one behind the current blackout, then it must have been him, correct? Aber er kann es nicht gewesen sein, weil er den Raum nicht verlassen hat, seit wir hier sind.
Yeah, I guess that would make the most sense.
I wonder about that. So Taiko had realized it as well, huh? But it seemed as though he and I were the only ones. Anywho, that's all I wanted to know about the phone. Next, I'd like to talk about Momoko. I still can't get over the fact that she would commit suicide, so I was wondering, any of you have any idea why she'd do something like that? Did she act kinda weird in the last few days? Or did she show any signs of suffering from depression or anything like that? I guess only Hiro and Carmen would know about that. Momoko seemed perfectly fine to me. No different than usual. And definitely not like she was emotionally unstable or depressed. On the contrary, even though she was shy and quiet, she always seemed like a really happy girl. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Richtig. A lot of people who seem like they're the happiest on earth commit suicide. And only then, when it was too late, did it turn out that they had been suffering from severe depressions for a long time. Nur weil du depressiv bist, heißt das nicht, dass du nicht lachen kannst. I guess so. Like I said, better ask Kamen or Hiro about that.
Speaking of Hiro, there was that whole fight between him and...
Okay. Ich finde ihren Dialekt so komisch.
There was that whole fight between him and Momoko. Don't you think that might have something to do with that? I mean, she seemed pretty distraught after it.
Well, I could understand her running off and wanting to be alone for a bit, but committing suicide wäre vielleicht ein bisschen extrem, ne? That seems a little extreme, sag ich ja.
Who knows? Judging from what they said, it wasn't the first time they argued like that. But maybe it was the final straw.
I guess that also was something only Hiro would be able to fill us in on, so there was no real point in speculating about it. But even if Bara-chan's assumption was right, then... So what you're saying is that basically Momoko committed suicide as a result of that argument.
Yes! That was one argument too many and... Well, she couldn't take it no more? I don't know.
That would mean her suicide was a spontaneous act and not planned beforehand. Something which I find rather unlikely, given what we know so far. Genau, wie die Tür, die nicht abgeschlossen ist. Zufällig diese eine Tür. Und, dass sie direkt auf die Idee kommt, sich mit ihrem Kostüm zu erhängen. Ich meine, da denkst du ja nicht sofort dran, oder? Then again, if it was planned, there are still a lot of things that just don't seem to add up. Ich weiß ja nicht, wer sich das Kostüm von den beiden ausgesucht hat. Vielleicht war es ja sogar Runa. Und dann hätte Runa nämlich schon die Mordwaffe geplant gehabt, ne? Nur mal so, falls es Runa war. Weil sie hätte ja auch einen Grund gehabt, weil sie in Hiro verknallt war. Then again, even if it was planned, there are still a lot of things that just don't seem to add up. Indeed. No matter how you look at it, all the circumstances surrounding Momoko's suicide seemed rather bizarre. Her behavior in general did. It was strange to think that she had just run off to the second floor into the only unlocked guest room, attached a rope to the ceiling and hanged herself. In complete darkness. I mean, just how had she managed to accomplish this? Especially with the others chasing after her. There wouldn't have been any time for mistakes or hesitation. Otherwise, they would have quickly caught up with her. Which also made it rather unlikely that she had frantically checked random rooms in hopes of finding one that was unlocked. So she really must have run straight to that guest room on the second floor. But again, how had she even known about it being open when she had apparently never left the dining hall in order to explore the resort to find out about it? Ja, weil sie nicht sich selbst umgebracht hat. This whole scenario seemed almost as though she had been...
possessed!
What?
I've been thinking about this for a while now, but... Ain't all this sounding kind of familiar?
What do you mean? Du redest gerade über Hiros Geistergeschichte, ne?
Hiro's horror story. The one about the girl who killed her boyfriend and then committed suicide?
Ja, aber sie hat ihren Boyfriend nicht getötet, ne? Oh, right.
You remember how it ended? A ghost now searching for girls like herself who ain't trusting their boyfriends and get overly jealous. And when she finds them, she drives them to commit suicide.
by hanging themselves.
Yes, it's exactly what happened to Momoko. So, I was thinking...
Ja, das macht das halt so viel, das lenkt den Verdacht halt so krass auf Hiro, weil Hiro sich diese Geschichte ja irgendwie ausgedacht hat. Und wenn das alles schon geplant war, so ein bisschen, dann war Hiro ja der Einzige, der zu dem Zeitpunkt die Geschichte kannte.
Maybe it's the curse? Maybe it's the ghost of that girl who drove her to commit suicide?
For a moment, everyone fell silent and just stared at Bara-chan. Possession. Momoko had been possessed by that ghost and driven to commit suicide. Don't be ridiculous, Akadori-san. Ghosts do not exist.
But, yeah, all thought it was weird, right? Momoko's just suddenly running up there and hang herself during a blackout? It ain't making sense.
Ja, aber worauf Raiko gerade in ihrem Gedanken raus wollte, war, glaube ich, einfach nur, dass sie eventuell gar nicht sich selbst umgebracht hat.
It's unnatural.
You can't be serious. Well, Nobara-chan does kind of have a point. Miyamoto-san. The whole thing is awfully similar to Hiro's story. And, you know, considering all of those other strange, inexplicable things, maybe this really was the work of some ghost oder der Werk von irgendeinem Mörder. Nonsense. There is no way ghosts exist. Then what exactly happened here? You seem to kind of doubt it being a suicide, but if it wasn't a ghost either, then what? Mord? Well, maybe it was just an accident. Ja, klar. Sie hat da dieses Seil hingehängt, ne? Weil sie meinte, das sieht so viel schöner aus. Und dann ist sie gestolpert und mit ihrem Nacken durch die Schlinge gerutscht und auf einmal hing sie da. Das passiert ständig, ne? Vor allem ist sie auch zufällig da oben hingegangen und dachte sich, in dem einen Raum hier fehlt eine rote Schnur an der Decke. Mikael, bist du dumm oder so? An accident. Are you serious? You mean Momoko ran up there and accidentally hanged herself? Yeah, I call bullshit on that. A coup. Indeed. An accident was completely out of the question. And of course, I didn't believe it to be the work of a supernatural being either. However, just like Taiko, I had a feeling that there was more to this than a simple suicide. And if we started having doubts about it being a suicide as well, then what exactly did that leave us with? I didn't even want to think that far. But the only other possibility would have been murder. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Murder. It had to be either that or suicide. There was no other option. And since the latter raised so many questions and seemed kinda unnatural as Bara-chan had phrased it, was it truly murder then? But that seemed kinda strange too. I mean, how would the murderer have done it? Besides, unless there was an unknown person somewhere around here, the culprit could have only been among us. Among my classmates, my friends. And I definitely didn't want to believe that. Unfortunately, the fact remained that someone had purposely isolated us from the outside world by cutting the reception phone cord and then shutting off the power, and as well as preventing us from switching it back on again. And as ridiculous Bara-chan's theory was, there was one thing she was right about. The parallels between Hiro's ghost story and what had happened to Momoko were uncanny, and they couldn't be mere coincidence. A ghost looking for overly jealous girls that didn't trust their boyfriends. Hiro had accused Momoko of being exactly that. So, a ghost looking for girls like Momoko. A ghost who drove girls like Momoko to commit suicide. Oder ein Mörder, der nach solchen Leuten sucht, ne? Weil es ist doch auch so, dass Serienkiller, falls eventuell einer unter uns ein Serienkiller ist, wer weiß das schon, ein bestimmtes Muster haben. Und das können auch bestimmte Arten von Opfer sein. Und vielleicht gibt's ja einen Serienkiller, der es jetzt auf Momoko abgesehen hatte. By hanging themselves. Barachan had talked about possession. Momoko had been possessed. As in, she had been led by that ghost into that room. And forced by it to commit suicide. Wait a second. Could it be, dass jemand anderes sie da oben hingezerrt hat und sie dann dazu gezwungen hat? When I raised my head and opened my eyes, Taiko had his gaze aimed directly at me. For a moment we just stared at each other in silence. Just from the look on his face I could tell. I could tell he must have come to the same conclusion than me. Well, I guess this won't get us anywhere. If we want to figure out what exactly happened here, we do need to start at the beginning after all. Which would be the first blackout, right? I'm almost willing to say that if it hadn't been for that, Momoko would still be alive. Are you saying this is my fault now? In gewisser Weise ja. Of course not. I'm not saying that we need to figure out what happened during... I'm just saying that we need to figure out what happened during that blackout if we want to find the truth. Oh! Everyone was in panic, and at some point all of you left the dining hall. I want to know what each of you was doing once you stepped out of those sliding doors. Every last detail of it. Especially from you, Runa, since you were one of the 3 people who chased after Momoko. Ja, die interessieren mich auch am meisten, ne? I already told you most of it earlier, and I doubt there is anything to add that would be of help, Kikai-san. Tell me anyway. No matter how unrelated or significant it might seem. I want to hear every detail. So, und bevor wir uns die Story beim nächsten Mal anhören, würde ich sagen, beenden wir an dieser Stelle den Part und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal wieder. Bis dann, Leute. Ciao.